Well, hi, everyone. I'm Carl Reuter, and welcome to the Stony Brook Sports Report. Time to talk men's lacrosse. That's right. It's that time of the year. And with us is the head coach here at Stony Brook, Rick Sowell. Rick, thanks so much for coming by here.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about new faces and how the team is gelling so far.
Well, we got a lot of new faces, that's for sure. And, you know, the gelling's been going okay. I mean, we've had a couple tough games to start the season with, but you know, I knew it was going to take a little time for us to get, you know, the chemistry right, and you know, we're kind of working through that. We're optimistic. Sooner than later, things are going to come together. But when you lose 4 out of your top 6 offensive players and you know, some pretty good defenders, you know, it's going to take time for the team to gel.
All right, let's talk about a couple of guys that are back offensively for you, and you got a returner in Canadians, Kevin Crowley and Jordan McBride. And what improvements have they made since last year to this year? Because they were dynamite.
Well, they've, you know, I think just the experience alone that they gained from playing last year was huge for them. And both of them worked hard in the offseason to just, you know, become more physically fit, you know. And but the kind of the problem is our other guys around them. You know, we don't have the same supporting cast as we had a year ago. So right now they are, you know, target number 1 and target number 2, and so it's you know, been difficult for them to have the same success so far in the young season. But you know, we think the other guys are, again, you know, things are starting to come together. They're getting better. They're starting to understand their role, and I think once that happens, it's going to open things up for both Jordan and Kevin.
As a coach, do you talk to Kevin and Jordan about, hey, listen, you are target 1 and target 2, and do you ask them to do more, or do you just ask them to play their game and let everyone else around them, you know, blend and the chemistry will evolve?
Well, there's two different scenarios. Jordan, unfortunately, he needs other guys to help him be more effective. I mean, he needs guys to break down the defense or, you know, our transition game, you know, to get him some shots. Kevin, on the other hand, is someone that can, you know, initiate the offense. The problem with him has been the long pole's been on him, you know, so far this season, and so he's adjusting to having to deal with that long pole. Right now, he's deferring to the other 2 guys in his midfield, Timmy Trinko and Robbie Campbell, because they have the short stick defenders. And so, you know, we're trying to generate offense starting with them. But, you know, we've made a few adjustments. We still think Kevin, even though it is a long pole, we still want him to handle the ball. We're trying to get him on the field in other areas, wing face-offs, which he's very good when he picks up the ground ball, being able to come down and make some plays. So we're trying to get him involved in other areas. But so far, again, it's just trying to, you know, make it work, and we played against some pretty good teams that have limited his opportunities.
Are you looking for one particular person or as a group to step up offensively behind Kevin and Jordan now?
We're looking for a few guys. Timmy Trinko, who we think's, you know, a star in the waiting, in the making. You know, he's, you know, can dodge, he can shoot, he's got a really good lacrosse IQ. Robbie Campbell, another one of our freshmen from Canada, who's, you know, his style's a little unorthodox, and so we're trying to compensate his style and let him do some things that he's very comfortable with. On the other hand, also have him conform to some of the things that we're, you know, that he's not quite used to, that, you know, that we do. So, you know, that's still working itself out. On attack, Chris Scott, as a junior who's been kind of in the waitings the last couple of years, and you know, real quick and can make plays behind the goal. We're you know, working with him and asking him to step up a little bit more. So it's a combination of, you know, 2 or 3 guys and some other guys in the second midfield. Michael Palmer, we think, can help us as well. So it is a combination of, you know, a group of guys.
Rick, you mentioned, you know, we were talking about your Canadian guys with Crowley, McBride. You mentioned another one. Did the Canadian guys still have the advantage over the guys that are here, bred in the States, because of the box lacrosse game that they play north of the border, and their hands are so quick, that thing, it's catch and shoot right away?
Yeah, well, certainly the case with Jordan. He's got unbelievably quick hands, and Kevin has got great hands. You know, Robbie's a little different than the typical Canadian, and even Kyle Boughton, who I haven't mentioned yet, he plays on attack as well. He's got pretty quick hands as well. They're because they're used to playing lacrosse in such tight, you know, spaces, they can just catch any and everything, you know. But they all have different styles, though. Again, Kevin's more of an initiator. Robbie's more of a playmaker. He's not a dodger per se, but he's probably 6'1", 200 pounds, so he's, you know, physical presence, and he knows how to take advantage of his physique, you know, to his advantage. And you know, Kyle's more thin, you know, more quick. So they all have different attributes, but at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, they, you know, have great stick skills and, you know, generally one-handed, but, you know, just great stick skills.
Talk about a goalie, a transfer, Charlie Parr, who's your starter now.
Yes, you know, Charlie brings, just a mindset we haven't had in my 2 years here. And he's certainly, it's his defense. He's in charge, and he's, that. It's kind of like that, middle linebacker in football,
Like that, yeah.
He's just mentally tough, and he, along with Steve Waldeck, is just a great combination. He just is the quarterback, I don't say middle linebacker, but he's also the quarterback out there as well. And so we're happy to have him right now. Again, our defense, with Nick Mattero coming back, we got Chris Chinlett back from an injury a year ago, Taylor Eason, who was out last year as well. We think that should be the strength of our team, and unfortunately we've come up against some pretty good offenses, but I think we're slowly but surely coming around and settling down, tightening things up, and we're expecting Charlie to be a big part of our defense this year.
You talk about the early part of the schedule, and the teams like Virginia and Harvard were on your schedule. How does that pay off for you guys down the road? It can only benefit you, right?
We're hoping. The old adage, you get better by playing better, and it's with all the new faces that we have on our team, it maybe wasn't the most ideal, in terms of starting your season off with, Virginia, the number 1, 2 team, depending upon what poll you look at. And then, following up with a tough team in Harvard who gave us fits a year ago. They're the team that held us to our lowest scoring a year ago, and we graduated 4 of our top 6 offensive player, and they return everybody. So I knew that was going to be a tough game for us. But, hopefully, we learn from it, and, now going forward we can, use it to our advantage. And we're going to play some teams that are just as good, but hopefully next time around we'll be ready. Hopefully, we're getting better.
Yeah, by the time May rolls around, you hope that playing those Virginias and Harvards, it does pay off. And before we even get to that part of the schedule, how about Lacrosse for Autism? Big day here, March 28th, right here at Stony Brook. Duke takes on Dartmouth, and then you guys will play UMBC. That's a great college lacrosse doubleheader to be played over here at Laval Stadium. You looking forward to that, Lax for Autism Day?
Absolutely. Last year we go back to our Hofstra game when we had it last year, and it was just a great evening. And now we have a doubleheader in Duke and Dartmouth. My former employee. I think that will be a good game. But then our game against UMBC, which is the first America East League game for us, and that's exciting. UMBC's off to a great start to their season, and we'll have our hands full with them, but hopefully a great crowd, and hopefully we're hitting mid-season stride about then, and ready to take them on.
And, of course, you gear it up for that again. Once again, March 28th, the America East schedule starts for Stony Brook when they take on UMBC, but prior to that, boy, Duke and Dartmouth. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be a great lacrosse season. Rick Sowell, good luck the rest of the way, and thanks so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
All right, that's Rick Sowell, the men's lacrosse coach here, the head men's lacrosse coach here at Stony Brook. That'll wrap up this edition of the Stony Brook Sports Report. I'm Carl Reuter. We'll see you all again next time.